Welcome back to the channel, Little Flexers. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. My name is JW Creewall, aka Flex Daddy, and this is the best place to be to learn about the Pokemon TCG and have some fun along the way. A while since my last video, but post-Worlds, we're back on the grind. The new season has started, and I don't have many opportunities to play, but there was a tournament this last weekend in Baltimore that I attended that we have to talk about. So before we get into that, I just want to say welcome back to those of you that support the channel and support the content that I do. Welcome to all newcomers. And Pokemon screwed me. Pokemon screwed me, and that is the topic that we're here to talk about today. So if you don't know, the structure of tournaments changed, and the first tournament in the new structure was Worlds. Now, I flamed out at Worlds. I went 1-3 to start, so I was out of contention almost as quickly as the tournament began, which was pretty sad. Put in a lot of work for that, and obviously the prizing is insane for Worlds compared to a lot of the other tournaments, so wanted to do pretty well there and just didn't live up to my expectations. That's okay. Jesse got a bag, though. Top 4 for him. One weekend made like double his salary. just saying it out loud, it just doesn't feel right. But that was the first tournament in the new structure where there were a few different things implemented. Asymmetric cut, big deal, where all players that meet the threshold for 8th place will be able to play for a spot in top 8. Now, they don't all play for that 8th place spot. So if 8 and 9 have the same number of match points, then those two players will play. And then everyone that matches 8 will play the respective seed higher. So if 8 and 9, they play off. If 10 has the same points as 8, they actually play the 7th seed. If 11 has the same points as 8, they will play the 6th seed, and so on and so forth. You could have, I think, up to like a top 32 is like the most mathematically high amount of players that you could have for a potential top 8 playoff. But that's how it would work, kind of this potential for a couple extra rounds there to play into a top 8. But Worlds happened. Rahul Reddy was the unfortunate play-in 9th seed and had to play into top 8 and ended up missing. But you know, everyone was okay with the new structure, or at least I didn't hear any complaints with the new structure. Fast forward to Baltimore, and I have a massive complaint that I would like to file in just a moment. So Pokemon Company, if you're listening, heed my words. Pokemon Company, one of your most loyal customers. But let's do a quick recap, and then we'll get into why this whole system kind of broke down in Baltimore and my thoughts on it. Let's check out the round by round. Okay, I'll give you just a very brief overview because honestly, Baltimore was a blur. First thing, before I go any further, this is a new website, and I want you to go to it right this instant. If you have not already, first of all, follow us on Twitter at training_court. This is a new app produced by myself and the former lead of PokeStats Live, Jared Grimes, called Training Court. You want to go to the URL, it's trainingcourt.app. This is going to be your place to track all of your tournaments for the season, be it a regional, be it a League Cup, be it Worlds when you make it there after you watch this channel and subscribe and everything and learn a bunch of stuff. Whatever it is, you can track it here in this site. It's going to be beautiful UI. It's going to be very easy to use, and we have a lot of features coming up here in the next couple of months. So check it out. I'm already using it. I already love it. And this is going to be kind of the website that I put a lot of time and effort into going forward. You can also track game logs. We have a nice game log parser. We have obviously the tournament feature that we're using now. So anyway, shameless plug out of the way. Please let me know if you like it. There is a feedback form in the top right. I digress. Okay, let's get down to it. So Baltimore Regionals, we chose as a group to play Lugia. And the reason that we did that is we were between Lugia and Miraidon. We knew we wanted to play an attacking deck because in this new version of tournament, the tournament structure has a couple of fewer rounds than you would have in the past. So this tournament with 2,300 players had a grand total of 13 rounds, where in the past that might have been 15 rounds, right? In the past, we might have had 9 rounds for day 1, and then 6 rounds for day 2. That was a little bit different here. 9 rounds for day 1 in Baltimore of this year, and then 4 additional rounds in day 2. Now, the extra rounds matter a great deal because of where I finished the day. And we'll get to that in a second. But we played Lugia. You can see my matchup spread here. I ended up playing, we were figuring, okay, what's a deck that can win in time, or when you're getting to a game 3 and you have like 10 minutes left to go? Usually not Charizard, usually not Ancient Box. There's a number of other decks that are, usually not Gardevoir, right? We want a deck that can attack over and over, do big damage, and steal those games when you're coming up to time. That was a big reason for choosing either Miraidon or Lugia. We also felt that the meta would be a little bit better for Lugia, probably an increase in decks like Ancient Box and Roaring Moon, and increases in Charizard, all made us think Miraidon was maybe not the best choice. So we went with Lugia. In retrospect, Lugia was the best call for the tournament outside of Henry Chow's Gardevoir list, which I have another idea for a video about that. But Lugia was without a doubt, in my opinion, the best play for the tournament. Had so many good matchups, or at least even matchups across the board. It played well into these counter decks that people were trying to pick. You see, I played 2 Banette throughout the day. Yeah, people were going crazy for this tournament, and I ended up playing a couple of players, 2 different, might I add, Banette builds, and beat them both. So, good on me. Had a little bit of struggle against the Regidrago. You'll notice that was 2 of my 3 losses. And if we skip all the way down to round number 13, the saddest round, I am playing against Rowan Stabenow in, the Gardevoir versus Lugia matchup. And I was feeling decently confident. I'd already beaten 3 Drago up to that point. But obviously I respect Rowan as a player. And I knew it wasn't going to be easy. But anyway, we get done with the set. I just really don't draw particularly well. I'm not able to get up double Archeops in either game, and I end up conceding that match. I lose that match to Rowan. Now, that was a match for top 8 of this tournament. 2,300 players. I had a chance. If I won that last match, I was 10-2, by the way, going into that match. I had a chance for top 8. If I win, I would have had 33 points. Rowan ended up being, I believe, 3rd seed in cut. Had I won that match, I would have also had 33 points. I probably would have been a lock for top 8. I lost. No big deal. What is a big deal is what happens after the loss. So I start off 10-2 into this tournament, get to the last round of the day with a chance to make top 8, lose that tournament, and I find out later that I got 33rd place in Baltimore. 33rd place. And that is a big placement because that is the exact cutoff between getting 2 booster boxes and $1,000 versus 1 booster box and a pat on the back. So they call it the bubble for those of you that are maybe not familiar with tournament lingo, and you hear that the bubble can occur at any point. Usually it's, making it into top 8 or at some kind of money threshold, top 8, top 16, top 32. These are the money thresholds for regionals. At those records, those players will earn some kind of monetary compensation for their time. I finished 33rd, so all I got was this Stellar Crown booster box, which I may even open because I need cards from this set. To be honest, I have been slacking in my preparation of finding cards. Anyway, 33rd place. Sad day. And that comes down to, how do you determine placements? Well, you determine placements by how your opponents do. And then if there's a tie break there between you and another player, by how your opponents do. So there's opponents win percentage and opponents win percentage. And my opponent's win percentage was just low enough to put me on the outside looking in. Very sad. Very sad. Obviously, Uh, People have way bigger problems than this. So please don't hear me in this video say like, oh, woe is me. Oh my, nothing good ever happens in my life. Like, this is a luxury hobby. I treat it as such. This is something I have a lot of fun doing. And even if I place 33rd, and I miss the money and it's out of my control in this way, I'm just still very grateful to be able to be in this position to compete at this level. So 33rd in Baltimore, in the moment I was pretty crushed because there's also a point differential between top 64 and top 32. And so for top 64, you get 100 points. For top 32, you get 120 points. I mean, realistically, I'm not going to go to every event. I'm trying to think like of the available events that I could go to in Europe and Latin America and Oceania and North America. I will likely make it to under a quarter, maybe like 10% of all major tournaments will I be able to go to. And that's very, very few. If you look at it from a pro player perspective, right? You have these players, and I'm sure you see them on social media, flying out all over the world to attend these tournaments. And that's just not me, dude. Like, I got 2 kids, I got a wife, I got friends, I got, monetary constraints. Like, there are a lot of things on my plate right now that I can't afford to be traveling every weekend, right? I can barely make it out to my locals, dude. Like, last season, I played 1 League Cup. Like, that's kind of what we're talking. When you're a parent, you have these extra responsibilities. Obviously, things take priority. So that's a big deal, though, for me as well, where I did as well as I could, given the matchups, given the opponents that I was paired against. I made the same number of points as the 32nd place player. I did as well as them, arguably, same number of points, right? There was no way for me to have done better than what I did. In a sense, like you could have said, okay, well, win the games that you lose. But my point being, at the end of the day, it's kind of out of my control, right? Like, my opponent's win percentage needed to be better for me to achieve a higher place. All I'm saying is, like, it was out of my control. I did as well as I could, and still missed out. And that could be a big deal for not only monetary reasons, but also the point reasons, because it's just, you get so close, you want to capitalize on those points where you can get them. So unfortunate, Bulba 33rd there. And what really stinks about this too is, coming into a win and in, and then losing that win and in, and not only just losing that win and in, but losing a win and in to drop you into a significantly lower bracket than you otherwise would. I consider a tournament successful if I do one of 2 things. Okay. First thing, and this is the one I prefer, but a successful tournament to me is if I make it to the money round, right? If I make it to the money stage, if I earn something from that tournament. So, even if it's the lowest bracket of earnings, that is a successful tournament for me personally. Okay. And if I had gotten, at 33rd place, that is the top, I don't know, there are 2,300 players in Baltimore. That's the top 1.5% or something. Somebody do that math. I did it, a couple days ago, 1.5%, I think. That's good. That is good, objectively. To be in the top 1.5%. If I could do that, most tournaments, like, I think I'm in a good spot. The other successful tournament, the other way I consider a tournament successful if I play my best and there was nothing else I could have done, because sometimes there are tournaments that come down to bad matchups, tournaments that come down to, you play a meta deck, you play maybe the best deck in the room and you just get the bad matchups. That's actually what happened to Jesse. I think he played 1 or 2 lightning decks. Like, he opens round 1 against an Iron Thorns playing a Lugia deck. Lugia was objectively the best deck for the tournament, but he played into the wrong matchup, right? Or the wrong matchups. I think he played a couple of tough matchups. So, if I do everything right, in terms of my gameplay, my prize checking, my, preparation, and I go into the tournament confident, and then it still doesn't happen. Like, I also consider that a successful tournament, as opposed to the tournament where I make the wrong meta call or I get into games and I'm constantly misplaying with a deck. that is not a successful tournament for me. So to have a tournament come so close and to just miss out on that money, that stings. That hurts. That hurts a little bit. So how do we fix this? Because this is not a problem for just me. I mean, there was someone else. I'll call out Rafal Gladys. He was 10-1. He was 10-1. He needed to win one of his last 2 games. Funny story. He actually also allowed Karen Farah a take back in his final round, which that's his story to tell. But, he was right there on the cusp. He went 10-1 and he lost his last 2 and he missed out on top 32 money. He was 1 place behind me at 33rd, which is just crazy to think about. So how do you fix that? Or is there a fix? Or, am I being too negative, or am I being too, I just want to have, too participatory? Am I being too of the modern parlance of everyone gets a participation trophy, because they showed up? Like, am I just thinking in that way? I don't know. But with the tournaments as big as they are, I mean, the Pokemon has taken steps already, to grow this game from the financial perspective, right? Because they have invested a lot more money into the prize pool last year, right? They basically doubled everything, and dropped money down farther. And, they've done a lot of good things for the player base in terms of compensation for high placements in tournaments. So I think that this would be something that, if proposed in the right way, wouldn't fall on deaf ears. So how would I fix this? The obvious, number one thing that comes to my mind would be some sort of asymmetrical prizing. So we've already shown that we can do asymmetrical top cut. Why not asymmetrical prizing for everyone that has achieved the same number of match points, at least at that bottom bracket, at that top 32. So everyone that got the 30 points required for Baltimore to hit top 32, everyone beyond that gets that same prizing, because there were about 8 of us, I think, that hit 30 points that missed out on day 2 prizing. So that's one way, right, to equal that out. And then, I think even championship points, right? Like, if you're going to do the money, then you might as well also do the championship points. But if Pokemon is, maybe a little cheaper than that, they don't want to extend or have a fluctuating balance for every tournament, then you could do like divided prizing. And that's, that's more math. So, it's more work. All this is more work. So maybe they just don't want to do that. And that's fair, because who am I to say what's right or fair or not? But they could do divided prizing. So for everyone in that bracket, however many players achieve that, get that same prizing, right? So they would take the pool of prizing. So if it's 16 to 32, they have, and they're going to give, or 17 to 32, and they're going to give $1,000. That's $1,600. And they actually distribute that not amongst 16 players, but against 30 players, or, however many get to that threshold, right? There is some, finagling, like, do you do that extending down from top 16 to top 25, or, however many get to top 16 points or top 8 points? Like, there's something there that needs to be discussed and addressed. But those are a couple ways that I think this could be avoided in the future. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with this video at the end of the day, because I was, if I'm 32nd, I'm probably not making this video. I'm 33rd. So I'm like, this sucks. Why are we doing it this way? Or like, if I don't even finish the tournament, like, I'm probably not making this video on behalf of the 33rd place player. But the fact that I was in 33rd place, Pokemon screwed me, and I'm upset about it. Not really. But anyway, it makes for good content. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, because I am curious about your thoughts on this. From an objective outside perspective, something you might say is just toughen up and deal with it and suck it up. And like, okay, that's pretty valid, right? I feel like I'm not upset, right? And I've made that very clear that I'm not upset about this. It's just like, that's a bummer. Like, wow, you do all the right things. They've cut back on the number of rounds, which is tough, right? If we had maybe one more round to go into those upper tiers, maybe that's a little bit better if we have that full 15 rounds like we have in the past. Maybe that, that obviously gives better players a little bit more opportunity to separate themselves from the pack. But that just wasn't what happened here, and I'm just creating some dialogue on how I would fix it. So let me know your comments once again. That's going to do it for this video. God bless. If I don't see you soon, I'll see you later. And remember, good luck. And also have fun.